Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. In this journey of great remembering, I'm grateful for the many voices that offer the wisdom of many perspectives. Each one has some gem that enhances or assists the receptivity or experience of one or many of us. Each one is a facet of this beautiful gem of conscious oneness, of unity. And together we gather under the sky and look to the stars and beyond. We open to receive. We open to remember. I thank you, Julia, for once again hosting this wonderful event where so many voices are given an opportunity to shine. I am 𝗏𝗏 from Quantum Sunrise, and I'd like to share with you some perspectives from the paradox. And so I offer this invitation to the threshold as we walk together along this path to New Earth. Spiritual alchemy is the process of transforming density to light. Quantum healing, quantum alchemy, is absolutely available and increasingly so in this time. If this does not feel accessible, these 4 steps are very helpful to be aware of, because when we're in the experience, we can feel immersed, we can become forgetful, we can become stuck in those dense energies. An awareness of these steps acts like a lifeline, allowing us to come back to the now moment and to resume our forward path. The first step is the Nigredo. This is the descent to the underworld, or dismantling, a Plutonian or polarizing experience. While there in the underworld, the second step, the Albedo, where we begin to see shafts of light coming in through the darkness. We become open to new possibilities and the methods through which we might heal ourselves. We become open and receptive to this new possibility. Citrinitas is the integration portion, where we take this new information, we take new ideas, and we begin to implement them and experience them. Through that process, then come to the Rubedo, the 4th step. And I see us as practicing over and over through the Citrinitas, and the Rubedo being truly this new human for the new earth. As I see it, this is where we as individuals can present and become united, harmonized, coherent embodiment of spirit and matter, truly evolving along with our earth, becoming new humans with a new experience and understanding of consciousness and unity. The paradox has shown itself to me in looking at clients' charts in 2 points, in particular, the Super Galactic Centre in the early degrees of Libra and the Shapley Attractor in the early degrees of Scorpio. The Super Galactic Centre is a supermassive black hole. It brings us the frequency of relational alchemy. So for anyone who has a very tight natal conjunction to this point, there's an irresistible draw to the other, to mastery of relationship, and also an irresistible draw of others toward you. Often the experience is that the 2 pass like ships in the night. It doesn't seem to quite work the way we're hoping for. This is when we're unconscious and unaware of the frequency and how to work with it. This relational alchemy is requiring of us to come into right relationship with ourselves, to acknowledge, alchemize what it is within ourselves that we are overlooking or not tending to, that we are seeking through others and through relationship. The Shapley Attractor in the early degrees of Scorpio, while not a black hole, is also drawing towards it superclusters of galaxies. So this is a gravitational anomaly in space that is drawing everything in our known space towards it. The frequency here is one of unity, oneness, conscious oneness. Individuals with a conjunction to this point often have a absolutely innate sense of what is true and what is false. Without a conscious awareness of how they're tapping into this, what this very deep connection is, there may be a tendency unintentionally to manipulate others, to manipulate truth for self-serving purposes, for something less than what benefits us all and oneself. So when healed, this individual can be an absolutely compassionate, wise leader, a seer, an oracle. There exists the potential to bring through what is true for others. These two, of course, work together in very important ways. They have tended to present themselves in as significantly conjunct a planet in the charts of individuals who are bridge builders, path markers themselves, guides, edge walkers, shadow workers. These are often blue ray or crystal ray souls. As the outer planets move slowly and have generational placements, I'm going to offer that there are a generation of people right now who are coming online, recognizing their potentials. Now, if this is you, I encourage you to have a further look at these areas in your chart. The path markers, which I was led to, the group of asteroids and dwarf and minor planets, I found through the charts of clients who had a few fixed stars common as significant in their charts. Those are Algol, which is a star of transformation, enforcing boundaries, sometimes vigilant, often misunderstood or overlooked individuals. 𝗏𝗏 is one of the royal stars. This is Christ consciousness, very spiritual energy. Sirius is, of course, the star we associate with the Egyptian mystery schools and ancient Vedic teachings. There is mental acuity and also a deep connection to crystals. Finally, Bellatrix, which is one of the stars of Orion, has Amazon, fierce, resilient, triumphant warrior energy, powerful warrior, divine feminine energy. The first asteroid is Chaos, which is also referred to as a minor planet. Chaos is unlimited potential. Formlessness and disorder, when unintegrated, when well disposed and well integrated, this is a balanced place within and contains infinite creativity. Chaos is the first of the gods to arise after the birth of creation. In Greek myth, she is the first primordial goddess to arise. This is the gap between heaven and earth. So this is pure potential from which we can create. The next is Isis. And of course, Isis is the goddess of resurrection and reclamation, divine feminine sovereignty, wisdom, and great loyalty. Hecate is the goddess who gives guidance at the crossroads. She trusts her intuition above all else. She is the goddess of magic and is comfortable in the liminal space. She guides us to a place of comfort in that liminal space, that space of dissolution, almost chaotic space, and guides us to trust our own intuition in times of questioning choices. Trusting our intuition is Hecate's guidance. Persephone is she who makes the journey to the underworld. In her descent, she is stripped of all of her riches, all that she knows, all of her gifts. All of her regalia is taken from her. She sees herself now as nothing and is dismayed and weeps in that state. Her journey of healing begins through radical love and radical compassion, giving ourselves all of the nurturing that our inner child requires, that our wounded places ask us to bring. And then from that place, through the healing, she reclaims her gifts, reclaims her pieces, her regalia, composes herself in sovereignty, and rises to the surface with the agreement that she will return to the underworld for a brief period each year. Very much like our alchemical journeys, to which we will return at times to revisit, not to stay, not to go through the full depths again and to strip ourselves of everything, but simply to recognize the place and to move forward once again after leaving from our visit. And Ceres is the mother of Persephone when we switch to Roman names. She is nurturing, renewal, cyclical seasons. She is determination and motherhood, protectiveness. She is everyone's protective mother. She is unceasingly nurturing and also ruthlessly determined. Her energy is seldom harmonized to find that center balanced place. And the lesson with Ceres, what she invites us is to recognize the qualities we may have in common with this very powerful goddess, not to temper them, but to acknowledge their potency and then to conduct ourselves accordingly. The wisdom of Eris, who is the goddess of strife and discord, is to recognize where our righteous anger has been directed and to examine that, determine whether it is worthy of our action. She is calling us to be wise and discerning enough to recognize where a small detail, given our attention, may grow to become an all-consuming obstacle in our path. To be aware of this and to issue our energy and our attention accordingly, to have a discerning focus of action and intent with full awareness. Of course, the calculated points in our chart are always very significant. I've listed true Black Moon Lilith here as she ties in with this dark feminine, divine feminine energy. The position of all of these asteroids and planets reveal a path, an invitation to an evolutionary dance with the spheres revealed in patterns. The patterns map an experiential progression which matches the steps of spiritual alchemy. It's ours to choose to engage with it. And if we do so with openness and willingness, we'll find that the alchemical path, which is never without its deep shadow aspects on its journey, are also never without support. One more example of the pervasiveness of the paradox will be the contrast you'll see between the two experiences in each of these charts that I will show you. I hope that the differences between them will also help to assure you that no matter how different your own chart may look, or where the outer planets are placed in relation to these supracosmic points or any of these asteroids or path markers, that the pattern reveals a path, and this invitation to the evolutionary dance is open to everyone. The first chart that I'm going to share with you is a blueprinter designer. This is a very ancient soul, and we're looking at their galactic astro chart. There's a great deal of density to transmute. We see here that their ascendant is conjunct Bellatrix. So we have this divine feminine Amazon warrior energy as innate and natural to them. The Super Galactic Centre is conjunct Uranus and Pluto, and it's honestly almost conjunct everything in this stellium that we see at the bottom of the chart. So there's a great deal of intensity, the Super Galactic Centre influencing so much of this person's origins, who they are, how they feel, how they express themselves, and also this outer planet energy of bringing with them something far greater, far bigger, and resolving something far larger than themselves. True Black Moon Lilith is with Sirius, although it's not shown here because of the orb of influence. But we have a very significant interception of the Libra Aries axis. So the 5th and 11th houses, there is keen intelligence, healing and inner truth, and a remembering of trust, a honing of discernment in all of those interpersonal matters are the hallmarks of this individual's alchemical path. In this same chart, there are 2 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗀𝗃. We're highlighting this aspect pattern here. Chaos is retrograde in the 11th house in Aries and is sextile to the midheaven in the 10th house in Aquarius. And they are both quincunx to the south node and to the sun. Now, this aspect pattern denotes a tension, something that is not resolved as much as we reconcile ourselves with the existence of this tension. It's an energy that provides us some kind of impetus to move beyond the discomfort, and that is what there is to be reconciled. In this instance, the sun and the south node in the 4th and 5th houses, both in Virgo, bring perfectionism in the way they present themselves, how they would like to be in the world, and also their conditioned expectations from the home in early life. There is tension and discomfort with their aspirations, their future, their plans and goals. This is related to masculinity and their reputation. These 2 things are working in harmony together. Their reputation, their plans and goals, and chaos in Aries bringing this idea that there is a sovereign energy that can come forward. But there's intense tension with the sun and the south node at the apex of this 𝗧𝗵𝗲. So this discomfort, this tension, the 𝗧𝗵𝗲 leaves it for the sun to resolve itself. And how will it address this discomfort? It isn't a matter of simply finding the right solution. It's to adjust within ourselves. How is it that we have contributed to this discomfort? What might we do to change our inner patterns so that something new can come forward for us, to allow new energy? There is a choice point with this about our aware engagement with the energies that allow us to move beyond our limited conditionings. Initially presented with challenge and discomfort, this is a squeeze that the 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗀 presents. And in this same chart, we see the grand earth trine formed by Algol in the 12th house in Taurus, Ceres in the 8th house, Capricorn, and Pluto in Virgo in the 5th house. Now, this grand earth trine is rooted in the organic way that this individual moves through life, how they have experienced life, and their ancestral and familial conditioning. There's a rebelliousness and pride in self-sufficiency as a required state of being and a solution to all problems. This is an unhealed remainder of this trine. It seems perfectly natural that that should be the case. And yet, this is part of what is presenting for healing, for resolution, for release. Relationships will be challenged by this sense of how they should be. And it might reinforce patterns of karmic wounding that exist through this individual's ancestral lineage. And there is, however, profound support from 𝗧𝗏𝗄𝗃. 𝗧𝗏𝗃 is assisting to heal, to retrieve, to nurture, and bring a final release. Engaging the Super Galactic Centre in Libra, there is almost sort of an interference in this self-fulfilling pattern of self-sufficiency where the other must be brought in and considered. It's a bit of a wild card energy. 𝗧𝗏𝗄𝗃 brings in this alpha and omega kind of energy for ancient beginnings and present day clearing. The remembering is encouraged in order to release what's tense, what's dense, and holding this individual stuck in that pattern. They're invited and nurtured to release this for themselves. And this is when they find the 8th house, engaging with energies that are different than the home that they've grown up in, the 4th house, where Pluto is, Algol in the 12th house of closures, endings, their subconscious, and what it is that they know. So this individual, when they begin to dig down, has a deep knowing that there is release available for them to activate. Looking to the asteroid chaos and the energies that we see through the different aspects to this asteroid, the void of potential playing a central role in this individual, bringing forward practical actions. The fire of Venus in Leo and Mars in Sagittarius, trining chaos in Aries. This acts as an energetic ignition switch for a new paradigm to emerge from the void. When the individual chooses to pursue their passion, despite their conditioning or ancestral karma, when the individual chooses to pursue their passion despite conditioning, early life, the challenges posed in the 4th and 5th houses, or ancestral karma, or all of these. When they choose to pursue their passion, fueled by their creativity, all of that fire actually generates a more comfortable space for the individual. When they act in pursuit of something that they enjoy, the communication may be easier and softened, and the relationship with others. This is that Super Galactic Centre challenge, paradox. This has begun to be understood, navigated through both sides of this. While it's not about choosing out of those energies what to keep and what to leave, but rather to understand they're all present and then to create that new paradigm from that place. The effect of willful and willing engagement with universal energies accessed through the chaos, the void, the womb of creation, is engaging the divine feminine as it's in her nature to balance an equation. In this case, activating the momentum of co-creation with our divine blueprint. This inertia or entropy of feeling stuck is released. Chaos is also in a square aspect with the true black moon Lilith in the second house, which is in a 2 degrees orb from Sirius as well. So we have the combination of those energies, Sirian and black moon Lilith. So there's deeply wounded psyche, way of thinking. This is a very challenging aspect because the deepest wound is also being really challenged by its seemingly everything. It's to be resolved. This truly highlights in the individual's evolution through life. This point gets highlighted as repeated wounding in early experience, and it kind of compounds that further conditioning through the 4th and 5th houses. But it's also there in this time of expansion to with someone who has, lived some life and resolved some issues. This square presents later again almost as the reminder to say this familiar injury can be addressed. There's a participation on some level, energetically, that creates the circumstances, making that wounding a likely potential. And it's possible to make changes so that we're no longer as susceptible. We don't put ourselves in that position. And then supporting all of this change are sextiles to Bellatrix and the midheaven. So where the midheaven in the yod can really highlight the tension of everything in the individual's life, culminating back to that resolution of who they are. The sextiles in this case are deeply supportive. These energies of the triumphant divine feminine warrior and the midheaven act like a unification of those energies within the masculine and the feminine to come to not the external, but the very internal rescue of that true black moon Lilith energy within. In the second house, this really ties very closely to inner child work. And it's deeply supported. This midheaven and Bellatrix are reminding the individual of these deep resources that are inherent to them. Resiliency. Quincunx to the 4th house sun and the 5th house south node. This again is the portion of the yod we looked at previously, and it's the very essence of who they are seems at odds with their conditioning and the expectations. And so these energies can recognize one another and then move forward again as the path markers guiding the way so that the journey is not this drudgery of moving from one trauma to the next, but rather reframing the experience that these are steps in a soul evolutionary journey. Now let's look to Persephone. She is in the 4th house of the home, the mother, roots, self-care. She is trining Saturn in the 12th, quincunx Chiron in the 11th, opposite Fomalhaut in the 10th, and sextile Shapley Attractor in the 5th house. This individual's home did not have healthy boundaries, and any attempts at self-care were belittled, in childhood. The intercepted Aries Libra displays this as the challenge of our conditioning and the inevitable individuation, the building of a full life, and this relationship with ourselves. There's discomfort from an early age with the sense of who they are, all the foundational aspects of the healthy relationship with self, which were generally nurtured and which are things for this individual to self-determine. The Aries I am energy. As I mentioned, there's a great deal of ancestral karma, which they're here to transmute as they embody this shift and deliver these divine blueprints. Persephone is opposite 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗏. Now, in their early experience, joy and abundance, these are pipe dreams. They're not available. All of that childlike play was also not allowed to flourish, not encouraged. Persephone, in her innocence, is stripped of what is hers by birth. There's a negativity that peppers all of the early conditioning. Support and nurturing have been removed or withheld from the individual's experience in early life. And by this, I don't mean so much physical sustenance as emotional and mental nurturing. This makes it very clear what's there to be healed. And so firstly is this opposition to 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗏. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗏, when we open to receive, there is super potent energy available here that can assist. And this doesn't feel like it's remotely accessible to this individual. As they mature, this is when they can open to invite something new, fresh energy. So in this transmutational journey, all of the steps that might feel challenging, there is sustenance available. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗏 energy can bring this. It offers it. We can open to receive it. This can naturally raise the frequency of the experience of the individual. And when they step forward and engage, when they're willing to be open to grace, despite it being rarefied in their earlier experience in life, Shapley sextiling Persephone brings both polarities of the paradox to the experience. Either nothing is ever right, or they are always wrong. And that feels like the truth of things. And then as they mature, healing through recognition and agency, learning self-care and sovereignty without a battle stance being engaged. They reject insincerity in all its forms. Boundaries are developed. This is the latter and also, or later in life, and also beneficial energy of this trine to Saturn. There's also a lingering insincerity within themselves, which may be, of course, the most difficult place to recognize it. If we're telling ourselves that nothing good is possible, we should reject the insincerity of that statement, because everything is always possible. When Persephone rises healed and whole from the underworld, she revisits it each winter. And this is our Citrinitas. It's how we reclaim those lost pieces. The more whole we become, the more easily we can see the small details of rough edges, overlooked before, or dark corners. We can reclaim those on our return trips. A well-practiced healing journey, a remembering, a revisitation, a small tidy up. It isn't necessary to re-experience or to re-alchemize the entirety of the process on those return visits. We can simply arrive and find some small corner where we can shine more light, and then we move on. And now we see Hecate, who is in the 4th house, and we can see these 3 goddesses side by side, conjunct one another. We can use this as 2 degrees, is a comfortable orb with asteroids. So they are there in solidarity. One after another, they're sharing similar aspects to other points in the chart. So with one less to each of them. So in the case of Hecate, she is trining Saturn, quincunx, Chiron, and opposite 𝗏𝗏, but she does not form a sextile with the Shapley Attractor. She is guidance at the crossroads. She is the intuition. So trining Saturn, observation and study. She lives in this liminal space. She can review and assist this. Wisdom to be gleaned from Saturn, who has learned from the no boundaries. Quincunx, Chiron, Hecate assists that really uncomfortable aspect, helping the individual to make personal choices, which are different, a shift in perspective, which can make all the difference to how the rest of their experience follows from there. Opposite 𝗏𝗏, frustrated by outcomes, can grow jaded again. A reminder from 𝗏𝗏, simply opening to new potentials. Hecate has the capacity to move through the dark, and she may also slip, if you will, and go back to what we think is this Nigredo. Again, of course, from Persephone, she's right there to remind her, this is the Citrinitas. What we find there is what we move forward with and create the gold of the alchemical process. We continue and we create more of it as we transmute these energies, these dense energies, into brighter, lighter frequencies. Isis is trining Saturn and opposing 𝗏𝗏. Isis makes whole. She can apply new structures with Saturn, completely new guidelines, and be mature enough to look beyond the wounding. Opposite 𝗏𝗏, she mediates and mends. She reconciles and makes whole the cooperation of this very high frequency royal star, this Christ-like energy, gentle, balanced, compassionate energy with the wisdom and relentlessness, tirelessness, and rejuvenative energies and of Isis come to bring all of these healing pieces together, initiating a new paradigm. The inner landscape of the individual can be transformed. The chart of the angelic realm alchemist. This individual's soul origin is the angelic realm, and their soul is crystal ray color. They were actually quite soothed and a little surprised in hearing their origin, but this was humility, sort of not recognizing the potential of their impact. And it felt as a fit once we moved through more of their session. Their soul mission is human embodiment of the angelic frequency, and to live that, to be a living example of how it is to be in harmony in this existence, so that our higher self is experienced within the living 3D embodiment. Paradoxical experiences, the polarizing experiences, are how this individual is learned and became able to discern the differences in frequency and experientially discover the connection in the body, where grounding and integration of light are actually the medicine. Even when the problem looks or feels or seems different, intellectual or ideological, maybe even something very concrete but external. This person is a healer and a guide. They work in the energy fields and also somatic work, body work. It's really very beautiful how the magic of the chart shows us exactly the life path and what magic and beauty can come when we follow the lead that's set for us as potential. We can see that their Pluto is conjunct the Super Galactic Centre, and Jupiter and Shapley Attractor, Venus and the Great Attractor, and the Sun and the Galactic Center. This individual has a conjunction to each one of the supracosmic points. And there is very high frequency energy that is infused throughout this chart and throughout their experience of life. One very powerful aspect pattern in this chart is this mystic rectangle. And we see with the ascendant at 0 degrees Virgo at a very sensitive point, it's conjunct the fixed star Regulus. This is also one of the royal stars. The next point is Jupiter, which is conjunct the Shapley Attractor. Then we have Mars, which is conjunct 𝗏𝗏. And finally, we have Saturn, which is opposite the Shapley Attractor. The dynamics of this rectangle is that at each of the corners we encounter this opposition. I see this as a fulcrum, a choice point, and the flow depends upon the input either from the external, which would be the sextiles would more harmoniously bring forward some kind of input from the other. The trines are something just innate, which naturally will flow. So there's this cycle of energy that keeps moving as we progress through our charts throughout the dynamics of this rectangle. This is how that evolutionary experience presents itself. So there's opportunity at each point to choose differently. So when that similar pattern is repeating, this spiral experience can be initiated, can be taken. We can interpret the hard angles as steps in a staircase. So their experience is one of a spiral evolution rather than a circular repetition. And this individual made the most of this in their life, being guided by their intuition, even through periods of doubt, and being very in tune with their bodies physically. This is a beautiful example of the embodiment of higher frequency energy. The first of 2 yods that we'll look at for this chart has Saturn in the 9th house sextiling Mars conjunct 𝗏𝗏 in the 7th. Mars is ready to act on something unexpected. This is relating to business, relationships, something in the personal aspect of how they engage with the outside world. 𝗏𝗏, of course, lends this beautiful high frequency energy. And so fiery Mars kind of has this angel on his shoulder. Saturn in the 9th house, Taurus, this is very grounded energy. There's a very clear sense of how it is that their boundaries need to be structured in order for their energies to feel comfortable, in order for them to navigate through life. And at the apex, we find 𝗧𝗃𝗃 conjunct the Super Galactic Centre. They are exact to the degree and within 20 minutes of exactly conjunct. So this would otherwise be a perfect union, right? 𝗧𝗃𝗃 is guidance at the crossroads, and the Super Galactic Centre is trying to figure out this balance between self and other. The dynamic of the entire pattern is there's something causing deep discomfort in the heart of me, and I don't quite know what it is. I don't know how to address it. How does everything seem perfect and also feel so awful and uncomfortable? When the yod presents itself, there's discomfort to be resolved. That tension may always exist in some way, but there is some sort of action that needs to be taken, either internally in our perspective or physically actually making some kind of change. And we find this in this yod. 𝗧𝗃𝗃 is extremely valuable in that It's her intuition that needs to be the guidance. The rules are in place, the structure is in place, Saturn is well balanced. Mars is saying, okay, I'm ready to act. And 𝗏𝗏 is there with grace. Somewhere there is something in the relationship between self and other, a determination whether what's causing the discomfort is internal or external. And this is where Hecate's guidance, intuiting what the issue may be, is valuable input. The second yod in this chart has Chiron at the apex, being quincunxed by the ascendant, conjunct Regulus in Virgo, and Jupiter and Shapley in Scorpio. Who they are and the way they think, how they feel about their home, this is not an issue. There is no conflict there. However, when we're looking to engage with the outside world, when we look to move in our career, moving forward in life, this sense of who they are really is not finding its footing with the same amount of comfort. So there's the point of attention. Some kind of resolution needs to happen in order for that discomfort to be overcome or moved through. This isn't to say that it's a quick fix. The yod is something we need to move with and grow through. The finger of God, as this is also called, points the way to our evolution. And I would just like to call attention to Persephone conjunct Uranus at 8 degrees Libra, although they're not part of this aspect pattern. They are suggesting that there's an unexpected way in which these pieces will be reclaimed and allowed to move forward. Something unexpected will assist the energies to move through and continue that evolutionary path. This wonderful kite has Saturn at the tip, opposite Jupiter and Shapley, and at the sides, we have the true black moon Lilith and Mars conjunct 𝗏𝗏. The Lilith energy in Cancer has a great deal of tension. She wants to protect what's valuable. She wants to ensure a comfortable place. So moving forward in life, this individual, it was something that they kept working with to try and find some way that what they did in the world, they could also do feeling comfortable in their own skin. And so they made a bold move. They left the structure and the culture, the place that they were raised in, and moved to a completely different continent. The daily routines, the cycle of life there was completely different. And it actually matched their own energy so much better. It was a joyful change, not without fear and trepidation, moving into the unknown, but this trusting of intuition was richly rewarded. Their career also flourished in this place. Being courageous enough to act and supported with this Christ-like energy of 𝗏𝗏, this very peaceful energy, and with the propulsion of Jupiter and the energy of love and oneness of the Shapley Attractor supporting this choice, the wind carrying the kite. I hope you can also find this beautiful magic available when we move through the alchemical process and arrive back at the surface, having recalled all the pieces of ourselves, and enjoy the expression of a greater, fuller, higher self. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention. I deeply hope that what I've shared is of value to you in your own journey. And I have a small gift for you, a PDF deck of these path markers with their archetypal signatures, their asteroid numbers. I have a free download available, and they will help you to identify these in your own chart. And if you're interested to explore these, I have an introductory offer for a reading examining exactly these points. I would love to hear from you. I wish you much joy, and I hope that you find that your own perspectives from the paradox lead you to a beautiful dawn.